Some people are not fit to be parents. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Tania McGowan, 23 years old. This woman is being charged with child neglect and child abuse. Now, according to the reports, at 7:15 p.m., Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department responded to a home on Duval Road in reference to an unresponsive infant and quickly transferred the baby boy to UF Health, where he was pronounced deceased. The medical examiner did mention that the child was extremely malnourished and had no evidence of food in his stomach or intestines.
With the alleged combination of neglect and abuse ending in the death of a child, that typically carries up to 30 years in prison.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about it.
It's a matter of opinion. If I'm right, but I'm leaving off for now to go outside, putting chores and obligations on our part.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy Walls P.
I'm your girl Erica.
Now, on today's episode, we got a very tragic story. Some people are not fit to be parents. Whether it's a father or a mother, at the end of the day, you have a lot of people who are unfit to be parents. And my question always is, if you're unfit to be a parent, why not leave the baby with a family member, drop it off at a fire station, whatever the case may be? The baby would be better in somebody else's hands. And that's what we have with this story here. This takes place out of Jacksonville, Florida. Let me put a picture up. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Tania McGowan, 23 years old. This woman is being charged with child neglect and child abuse, and this took place on December 11th. Now, according to the reports, at 7:15 p.m., Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department responded to a home on Duval Road in reference to an unresponsive infant and quickly transferred the baby boy to UF Health, where he was pronounced deceased. Medical staff were concerned due to the infant's condition and called the police to investigate. The medical examiner conducted an autopsy, but results are still pending. However, the medical examiner did mention that the child was extremely malnourished and had no evidence of food in his stomach or intestines. When the police arrived at the hospital, they learned that the suspect, Tania McGowan, who called the JFRD, which is the Jacksonville Fire and Rescue Department, had left the hospital. Medical personnel also told police that the baby was in an emaciated state and weighed only 7 pounds. And remind you, this is a 5-month-old child. Now, another officer was sent to the home on Duval Road and got written consent from Tania to enter the home. Upon entering, the officer found the house to be cluttered with barely any furniture. A pack and play was found in the basement, and there were only 2 bottles of baby formula in the house. When the officer questioned McGowan, she claimed she placed the baby to sleep at 8 p.m. on December 10th and didn't check on him until midnight. She said the baby appeared to be asleep, so she went to bed. When she checked on the baby again at 2 p.m. the next day, she said the baby was unresponsive and cold to the touch. The officer also spoke with apartment manager and learned of abuse incident involving the victim and another child in the clubhouse. McGowan was caught on surveillance, slamming the baby's head, putting blankets over the baby's head, and also continuously slapping the child on the head. She did it in front of the other child. Now, one thing another officer pointed out was in an interview, they learned that the child was her son, but he used to live with his father. She gained custody of him when the father moved to Texas in October. During the time the victim was alive, he was never seen by a doctor. McGowan admitted she noticed the child was slimming down, but she thought it was growing in length. McGowan's phone was inspected, and images showed the progression of the child from a healthy size to malnourished. And currently, she's being held on bond for $1.5 million for child abuse and child neglect. And her first day in court is January 29th.
Did not have her stomach turned reading it. In the arrest report, JSO officers that responded detailed that the baby's ribs were protruding from its body with its stomach caved in. And in the arrest report, it also says that medical officials noted the baby was extremely malnourished, weighing just around 7 pounds. And for some comparison and context, according to the CDC, the average weight of a 5-month-old boy is typically around 16 pounds, over double of that.
The arrest report says, upon investigation, JSO was also given surveillance video showing McGowan abusing this 5-month-old boy, hitting him repeatedly, among other acts, in the clubhouse of her apartment complex just days before the child's death. This report paints the picture of a woman incapable of controlling her emotions. Tania McGowan in Jacksonville took to social media after the incident, posting photos of what appears to be her now deceased child, saying the hospital still wouldn't tell her what happened. According to the arrest papers, McGowan also told investigators the baby had never been taken to the doctors after his birth, something Carson says is typical and usually intentional in the case of an abused or neglected child.
If a child had been in medical care, clearly they would have foreseen what the prognosis might have been if the child wasn't properly cared for, and they are obligated under the law to contact law enforcement and to disclose these issues.
Carson says in a case like this, with the alleged combination of neglect and abuse ending in the death of a child, that typically carries up to 30 years in prison.
Carson also noted the fact that the abuse was memorialized, as he called it, or caught on video. A court would be more likely to go for the maximum sentence if there is a conviction. But he says cases like this don't typically go to trial. Instead, they typically end in plea deal agreements. For local coverage you could count on, live from the north side of Jacksonville, Logan MacDonald.
Now, after the child's passing, the father took to social media and posted this. It hurts me to say this, but my pride and joy is gone. If you know me, I was so happy to be a father. I used to tell my mama how good of a father I would be, but I failed my son. I was selfish and left him with a person that only seen him as money and stability. I go live with my baby every day, kiss him and tell him to fear none and respect all. I wanted to teach him that. I wanted him to get locks. Everybody loved him so much, and my family that I am ignoring. I'm sorry, I feel ashamed and blame myself. Y'all didn't get to meet my baby Mecca. Y'all pay attention to the people around y'all, especially the ones you laying with. I ignored all the warning signs. I can't say I didn't see this coming from a depressed, suicidal parent, but now I have to live with my heart ripped out. The only person I felt loved me 2,000% is gone. I'm going to get justice for my baby. He ain't going out like that, not in vain. Somebody going with him. I hate her for all this and myself as well. He deserved to live. His life was so short, but I captured every moment of it. I am 700 miles away from my child, and he is gone. Thank you for the encouragement I've been getting from everybody. Just help me bring this to the light. Please, my son didn't do anything but be a baby. She left him to die. What are your thoughts on this before I give my take on it?
To be honest, it's hard. It's disheartening that you have people that can harm their own child. It's disheartening that you look at the pictures from the father. He looks like he weighed more in the father's post than you look at the mother's post 5 months later. That is gradual not feeding of a child for them to look like they weighed less at the time of death than they did at the time of birth. It's disheartening to me that somebody doesn't take their child to the doctors in the first few months of life. That's when you get the well-checked health visits. That's when you're tracking to see, hey, is the baby eating enough? Is the baby sleeping enough? Are you getting enough wet Pampers? Those are all of the things that, as a new parent, you should be expected to do. Because that's the only way you're going to learn your child is by having somebody check the baby's weight. Because guess what? You put them on a regular scale, it's not going to happen in the house. So you have to do due diligence as a parent. You got to make sure that, hey, let me make sure there's nothing wrong with my child. They give you that baby 2 days, 3 days, you out the hospital. What else are you doing? It's either you going to sink or you going to swim. And at the moment, if you don't have food in the house for the baby, you're not feeding this baby, you're doing something. And you can't tell me living for the gram or the internet is more time-consuming and more worth it than taking care of a baby who can't take care of themselves. As a parent, your job is to protect your child. And when I hear stories where their own parent doesn't protect the baby, that is a problem. Then you have to start looking at what else is really happening? Did this person not want this child to begin with? So now you're doing everything possible to get rid of your own child? Is it mental? Is it something, mentally wrong with this person? Is it something to the point where this person should not have been in care of their own selves? What about the care of a child too? And I feel like people are not saying things, which is the reason that these kind of stories really don't get the justice. Because it's like, okay, well, the victim is a baby. That means that baby can't say nothing for themselves. That baby can't call the cops. They can't call a family member. They can't even leave. So you don't know what all abuse really was happening to this child because the baby couldn't stand up for its own self. But as a parent, this sucks. Especially if you're a parent who's ever lost a child due to nothing that you can control. Or what about the people that want to be parents who can't physically be parents? But it's always the ones who shouldn't be the parents or the ones who are getting these blessings. And I feel like that is wrong on so many levels. Now, to the dad, I know it's going to hurt. You thinking, hey, I'm a dad. I'm going to do what I need to do for my child as a dad. You automatically assume that the mom will do the same. But at this point, it's like, okay, this mom did not. I feel like people need to vet the people that they sleep with a little bit more because sometimes you just do not know. These are open conversations that people should be having because you want to know the kind of person that they want to be. You want to know what kind of person they're aspiring to be so you can see all of the red flags or not. And until people start doing that, you're going to have more and more cases like this where these babies don't get any justice. The fathers, the mothers, the other family members in these cases have voids to fill because this is something that should never have happened. I never want to see, a parent outlive their child at the hands of abuse, at the hands of neglect, because those things are hard to come back from.
All right, for me, I gotta kind of absolve the dad because he had custody, and when he was moving to Texas, for some reason, this woman gained custody. Now, even if it's a case where it was going to be a legal matter, he really had no power in the situation because at that point it's a legal matter. So, regardless, she was going to be the one having the child in between of going in and out of court. So, I can't really hold him to blame as of right now. Now, if more information come out, then okay, we'll cross that bridge. But right now, I can't really give him any blame. As far as this woman go, all the blame goes to her. She was literally unfit to be a parent. Now, it's also reported that she was a OnlyFans model. In my opinion, a failed OnlyFans model because just discussing her living conditions, no furniture, only 2 bottles of formula for the child. The pack and play was in the basement. Like, that doesn't speak of a person that's living a successful life, so to speak. It seemed like you were barely scraping by. So then my question becomes, why would you take this child out of a good situation with the dad? Were you vindictive? Were you mad that he was leaving? Like, what could be the reason that you took this perfectly good child who, even when you look in the pictures at the dad's posts, like Erica said, you could see that this child was definitely getting fed and being well taken care of. So, what is it that made you want to take this child away from this man? Clearly you couldn't handle the parenting. Any little crying that this child did, you took your frustration out on him by beating him, not knowing how to soothe the child or anything. So it's like you were literally unfit to be a parent. And then you noticing through your pictures that the child is suffering and getting worse and worse through your chronicalization of the pictures and the photos from when you got the child, and then you try and chuck it up to him growing in length. It's a difference when a child is getting slim through length and malnutrition. It's a completely different look. And just looking at the pictures and the videos of the child when you were rubbing his hair and everything like that, you could tell that child is malnutrition. So, shame on you. You are definitely unfit to be a parent. When you saw the going get tough or this wasn't for you, why didn't you just give the child back to the dad? Why didn't you give it to another family member? Why didn't you put it up for adoption? Drop it off at a fire station. If you would have took any of them actions, this child would be alive. But since you were selfish on wanting to take this child away from the dad for whatever reason, now this child is gone. And I'm happy that the bail is set at $1.5 million because that means that your butt is going to rot in jail. And I don't know if you're going to take a plea deal or whatever the case may be, but you're not getting out of jail until after whatever sentencing is imposed on you for your bad parenting. Me personally, I don't want a plea deal. I want maximum sentencing. That's what this woman deserves for your neglect, for your abuse. You will suffer the consequences for what you put that child through. Now, the family do have a GoFundMe for baby Mecca. So if you want to support the family, the link is in the description.
I feel like a parent is struggling to take care of a child, they need to reach out to somebody. I feel like when people in general who don't know how to take care of kids, I feel like you need to go get the training to do this. I feel like most people assume that people know how to make a bottle, change a baby, especially if it's your first kid. And a lot of times they may not. I feel like there are resources out there for new parents who choose not to utilize their resources. I feel like if you had any doubts about taking that kid from the father to begin with, you should have been vocal about it. And the reason for that is people don't know how you're going to react if you are not telling people what's going on. So I don't know what pushed this person to that point of abusing, neglecting, and ultimately killing their own child. But I do feel like in the beginning stages, when she had those kind of thoughts or should have been reaching out to somebody for help, I felt like you should have done it. Because my thing is, this baby did not do anything but come into the world. And as a parent, your job is to protect. And if you can't protect your own child, you need to talk to people so that they can do it for you if you're unfit to do it.
Well said. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think in the comment section. We would love to hear your take on this matter. If it's your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking that notification bell. And if you want to follow us on our other social media platforms, the links are in the description. Don't forget to like this video, share this video, and definitely drop your comments because we would love to hear your thoughts on it. That's going to do us for this episode of Matter of Opinion. I'm your boy, Walls P,
I'm your girl, Erica.
and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
It's a matter of opinion.